Chris Wick alongside Brandon Peoples. And joining us on the phone this morning, Brandon, is Chip Redmond from Kansas Mesonet. How you doing today, sir?
I am fantastic, enjoying some clouds.
Yeah, no, I've loved this week. This is what I'm ready for. Yesterday was cool. I needed a sweatshirt to walk the dog when I got up in the morning. I need more of this. But I know it was pretty warm over the weekend last weekend. There had to be some records broken, right?
Yeah, you think there would be, but we're still in that time of the year where record high temperatures are still in the 90s. They're getting close, though, as we get closer into the middle of September, or middle of October. Goodness, wrong month. It just doesn't seem like it's October yet. And
no,
temperatures reflect that.
I understand that.
and so we see record highs in the 90s till about another week or so. Then that'll start pushing the mark. We got up to 89 degrees on Friday last week, and then 86 degrees both days over the weekend. That's a lot warmer than normal. Our average highs are around the mid to low 70s. 74 was over the weekend, and we're falling about a half degree a day. So for the highs, so right now we're already on our average high today is already 72. So it's on the downward swing, but definitely was a warm weekend, and it was a perfect weekend if you wanted to be outside.
And we did get some much-needed rain after that warmth. Did we get enough, or how much did we receive there after that warm period there?
Yeah, we had a pretty slow-moving, potent cold front that came through early this week, and that brought some needed moisture. It had a lot of remnant moisture, although southerly winds over the weekend allowed a lot of that Gulf moisture and some East Pacific moisture to push northward into the region. And so we had some areas to get up towards Nebraska and Washington County. They had over 3 inches, but more towards Riley County, closer to home. If you went from Riley to Westmoreland and northward, that area all saw over an inch to almost 2 inches of rain. But southward, there was southward there was less in the Manhattan area, about a half inch to as little as 0.3 of an inch, depending on where you were.
All right. Now, I know we've been dealing with drought. I mean, Manhattan was in D0 with D1 drought, like farther east and north. Where are we at with that in this region now?
Yeah, so average precipitation this time of year, I mean, we still are on the downward swing. We get close to our drier time of the year, or driest time of the year. We still need over a half inch, about 0.6 of an inch of rain a week to keep up with normal. And with the Manhattan area only seeing about a half inch of rain, granted it fell nice and slow and the way we want rain to fall, we still ended up below average for this week. And then when we look even farther out, we're still below average for the last 14 days, and even the last 30 days, we're still running about a quarter to a half inch below average. So because of that, and then we look even further out, we can extend it 6 months. Manhattan area is running 6 to 7 inches below normal. That's a big shortfall in precipitation. And as a result, Manhattan itself remains in D0 abnormally dry conditions, but we get further north and further east, we still have D1 drought, and especially to the east, you saw that D1 drought expand closer to us. And we still have some D1 in Potawatomi County too. So drought, it doesn't feel like it, but when we average such little precipitation this time of the year, and we end up still falling short. We're just building these long-term accumulation deficits that result in a kind of persistent dryness that doesn't impact the topsoil as much. When we look subsurface, we look at the deficit there is we just don't have subsurface soil moisture to carry us through a period of long-duration dryness if we were to encounter it. And so we're kind of right on that fringe of drought. And I think, when we look at the forecast we'll talk about here in a minute, I just don't see any big change on the horizon of drought.
Well, I know that some people busted out the hoodies this week. How do our temperatures compare to normal now that it is starting to feel a little bit more like fall?
Yeah, so we talked about the warm side, right? We had the warm side this past weekend, and now after that cold front in the middle of the week, we got to the cool side. We got into the 40s just to hear yesterday morning. That's only the second sub-50-degree measurement we've had this fall.
Man.
The last one was back in early September 5th. And so that is just abnormal when we look at the cool side of things, where our temperatures are still just running above normal. I will say, yesterday, for the record, was below average by about a degree. Our average lows this time of year are in the mid-40s, around 46 degrees. So that 45 yesterday was 1 degree below average. Enjoy the cool weather because, October's already started on a much warmer note. And we look month to date, we're running almost 10 degrees above average for the 7-day departure from normal in month to date. And so we're running really, really warm. And I don't really see that changing a whole lot. And the fact that we have this cooler air right now is finally hoodie weather a little bit. You got to enjoy it a little bit. Maybe, utilize that pumpkin spice to warm you up a bit.
Well, you did mention we are running a little warm, and I know this weekend we're looking at 80, 85, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. How much longer do you really see that running, and will we see frost coming anytime soon?
Yeah, so we are really getting close to that average first frost, first freeze. We should be getting into the 40s, and that's not too far away. You can see a frost as warm as 39, 38 degrees, depending on where you're at. Right now, when we look at the long-term models, things are pretty steady state warmer than normal. And it's not just the fact that temperatures got a lot of moisture around, you get higher humidity, and so the temperature just can't fall beyond. Like this morning, it's 58, 59 degrees, depending on where you're at. It might be a little bit cooler in the valleys. That's 10 degrees above normal. And we just have so much moisture around that the temperatures can't fall beyond that. So when we think of a frost or a freeze, I don't really see any real potential until we start getting out maybe towards the 20th, 22nd of October, and we get maybe more of a more impactful cold front. But overall, temperatures are going to remain 10, 15 degrees above normal, at least through the weekend. And then we're going to see temperatures cool off a little bit with a frontal passage and a change in the weather by mid next week. But still, the low temperatures are still struggling to get below 50 degrees, really into mid to late October.
Well, we're on with Chip Redmond from Kansas Mesonet here on K-Man's Morning News. Chip, need to let you go, but before we do, one more question. I know there's a new Mesonet weather station in the area. Can you tell us where that is and kind of how folks can obtain data?
Yeah, the Kansas Mesonet's a network of over 90 weather stations across the state, and we measure all the weather data that we've discussed so far, and we added a new station here in Wabunsee County just a couple of weeks ago. It's just southeast of Alma, and you can find that data on our website at mesonet.ksu.edu, and it's all real-time and populates the tools that folks can use for decision-making, as well as looking at departure from normal precipitation and those kind of things. So it's really cool to add a new data point. It's not too far from the radar, so it's actually an area where they don't measure radar precipitation very well. And I think it really fills in the gap here in the Flint Hills region to provide a better picture of precipitation and temperature trends, along with a lot of other things like inversion, soil temperature, that sort of thing. So as you look at the opportunity for some precipitation next week, maybe about a half inch to localized 3/4 of an inch, that'd be a great place to go to mesonet.ksu.edu and monitor those precipitation totals as they happen.
All right. Chip Redmond from Kansas Mesonet. It's easy for me to say this morning. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me.